it's another episode of Splash Shit, and we are super lucky today to have baseball royalty on the show. William Nathaniel Buck Showalter III. He served as manager of the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Orioles, the Mets, four-time manager of the year. Former professional minor leaguer and an analyst for ESPN, Yes Network, MLB Network. And my buddy, a guy I've got to know over the years, Buck Showalter, joins the show. Buck, thanks for coming on, man. What have you been up to?
Oh, I'm so busy. Hey, I got to ask you, so you got my whole name. What does FP stand for?
Frank Paul Santangelo. Frank Paul's the first name with a hyphen, so my parents just kind of shortened it up, FP, and it just stuck for over the years, and now that's what I go by.
I should know that. You know, I had a pitching coach in the minor leagues, great, QV Low. And I said, what's the QV stand for? He goes, nothing. That was my name, QV. His brother was like JB. They all had initials for names. It was unbelievable. Look him up. He was the head coach at Auburn Montgomery. He's a legend down there. QV Low. But FP stands for something. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's up for debate. Thanks for coming on today. Reading about you, like we've had many talks when you were manager of the Orioles, sitting in your office, and that's how I got to know you so well. But I did not know that in the Cape Cod League, I won't say the year, that you won a batting title hitting .434. I think it was for, I'm looking at Hyannis. You played in Hyannis. And then at Mississippi State, you hit like 290 something and were a 5th round draft pick. So made it all the way to AAA. Is that true? Is the internet right on all these things?
No, as usual. My kids have told me I need to really check the Wikipedia because it's way off. But I guess you can change that. I got better ways to spend my time. But no, I think I hit 290 as a career minor leaguer. But I hold I think 459 at state, and you know I got a what do you call it, telegram from Thurman Munson. It was the first year Hyannis had a team in the Cape League, and he congratulated me on breaking his record, and that was a keeper. I still got it in my closet. That was cool getting that from Thurman.
Especially since you would go on to manage the Yankees one day. That's really, really cool. So, you know, this is a Giants podcast. We talk all Giants baseball. I want to pick your brain, and I've picked your brain a lot over the years about managers and Tony Vitello being the manager. Have you been following this story? And it's not the traditional path to becoming a big league manager. And I think, you know, when you managed the Yankees, you didn't have any big league experience. So maybe talk about what you think his challenges are going to be as a first-time big league manager coming from college.
You know, FP, I never want to be the old guy on the front porch screaming at the kids. And we all confuse change with a lack of respect for tradition. And I know when I first started out, I was 35, 36. And the first thing I did was surround myself with Frank Howard, Clete Boyer, Willie Randolph, you know, guys that, and I had a great sponsor in the clubhouse in Don Mattingly who I'd played with. So, you know, my path, because guys are going to, you know, the newness will wear off. And there's no, if you're a phony, you get sniffed out in a heartbeat in the locker room. You're around each other, as you well know, 7 days a week, 7 or 8 months, and sincerity plays. And I know Tony a little bit, not as well as I'd like to, but I'm pulling for him. And I think he's got a good chance. I applaud Buster for taking an unconventional route. You know, that's how things, I just think sometimes we make way too much. I'm big about your path. I am. When I look at a resume, I can read some of them for a couple of sentences. I go, oh, that path. And, you know, there's been some examples of it, but I think Tony's going to do well. I do, because I think you just got to know what you're good at and what you're not. Like every time there's a catching instructor around, I want to stick my head in there because I knew I wasn't good at it. And you got to have a certain amount of humbleness and know what you're good at and what you're not. And I think he does. I mean, recruiting 15 and 16-year-old sophomores and juniors is a lot harder. Trust me, that's a hard gig, and we have to respect the challenges that every job brings.
Was there any pushback initially with you because you didn't play in the big leagues?
Well, you know, FP, I got a 1-year contract for $175,000 to manage New York Yankees. And at the press conference, I said, I'm on a 1-year plan. I took it and ran. You know, it gave me a certain sense of fearlessness because what do I have to lose? And, you know, I'd been in big league camp a little bit. I had coached third base. I had been the eye in the sky coach for the Yankees. I'd been there I was with the Yankees for 19 years, so I knew how it worked. And the last thing the fans wanted to hear was you complaining about the ownership and how hard it was and whatever. And that's part of the gig. Nobody, they just, the fans want to be able to trust you and trust your team. You've got I went to the Army-Navy game Saturday. I loved watching Navy play. And I'm up in Annapolis visiting my son, who lives up here for his birthday, but I can trust Navy. There were 3 penalties, FP, the whole game. You know how many guys laid on the ground and had trainers come out to get them? One for about 5 seconds, and he pulled himself off the field. The game, they run the ball. There's no penalties. The game's over in 2.5 hours. And it's just, if you want to feel great about America, go to an Army-Navy game. One time in your life, go. It's great.
I had a lot of questions to ask you, but this is going a little bit different direction. The talks that you and I always had in your office, you would ask me about players, and you would always ask me the same thing: did he play football? Like, why were you so concerned about whether a free agent played football or not? Talking about a baseball player,
it wasn't necessarily football, FP, as much as it were there other things. Because these guys that are travel only, baseball only, these travel teams and all this stuff, they're usually a red flag. One, from an injury standpoint, their body, the joints, the elbows, the knees, the shoulders, you're getting this. I wish I could talk to the parents about it. The well-rounded guy that played other sports. I remember I had a pitcher one time. I said, "Hey, what position did you play when you didn't pitch?" He said, "Oh, I didn't. I was on the bench when I didn't pitch." I went, uh-oh. But, whether they're playing soccer or hockey or golf or just something that makes them do other things with their body. It has nothing to do with the toughness of football necessarily. It's just, when I saw I was a big resume guy. When I would look at a guy's path and see that he had played multiple sports, it was usually something that worked in their favor.
Because it probably have a higher upside, right? If and like football teaches you toughness, maybe basketball or soccer, foot speed, and then if you max out just at baseball at age 18, your ceiling for getting better probably isn't that high.
I remember John Hart told me the thing that put him over the hump on CC Sabathia was he went to his basketball game in high school and watched him play basketball, and he said, "I'm taking this guy." At that time, it was a very unconventional pick. That was an unconventional pick, but I loved it. It's like taking Brandon Nimmo out of a Wyoming high school. You want to have guts? Go out there where they play maybe 10, 12 games a year and nobody sees them, and all of a sudden Brandon Nimmo's your first pick. That's why I love scouts. I love the boots on the ground guys. And that's what Tony has, that boots on the ground mentality. As do a lot of these young managers are being hired, and everybody goes, "Who's that?" They all follow a similar path for the most part if you look at them. And that's okay. I mean, it's okay. But I think it's got a lot to do with what the GMs are looking for today. They don't want really a lot of pushback guys. They want guys that can follow their program, which is part of it. But, you're not there as a collaboration to help evaluate the players. They don't really care that much about what you think about the players.
Well, it hasn't the game evolved? For maybe when you started with the Yankees, at least for me early on, it was like what I could do for my manager. And when I talk to people in the industry right now, it's more about what the manager can do for the players. How can I increase your value in the industry? What can I do for you? And there's kind of been an evolution. Maybe touch on how you changed as a manager from the Yankees all the way to the Mets at the end, and your evolution, and maybe what Tony's going to go through in his evolution as a big league manager.
Well, you're there. I've always felt like you're serving the needs of the players. What can I do to make their path easier? And you try to put yourself in their shoes. And that's what helped me a lot with guys in the bullpen, was talking to them. I used to walk the field during batting practice, mostly with the bullpen guys, especially the guys that were struggling. The guys that were playing every day and pitching every fifth day, well, they didn't need a lot of love. But I think the guys that were struggling, and like FP, you were a great what if. You were a guy you could plug. I always wanted to have you on the club if I could, because you could play in the outfield, you could play some infield. The thing that GMs have to do is plug in the what ifs. And because playing baseball 7 days a week for 7, 8 months is not normal for your body. So what do you do if Lindor breaks his leg the first day of camp? What are you going to do? The season doesn't stop, and they don't let you play catch up. But guys like you, the pieces, you were a great piece. And that's what all the championship clubs had, great pieces. And the piece players had to understand what they were. some backup catches, utility infielder, so fourth outfielder and the fifth outfielder. There's a difference in them. There's the long reliever, back when they had long relievers. And those guys would make or break you over the season, is how you plugged in. I mean, we played the playoffs one year, and I think 3 guys on the field weren't even there at the start of the year because Manny got hurt, Chris Davis got hurt, and Matt Wieters got hurt. But we had to play catch up.
Okay. Yeah, and with Freeman, Ohtani, and Betts, Miguel Rojas helped them win a World Series. So to your point, exactly. Buck, we got to take care of some business real quick. We got to do an ad for Cash App. We'll be right back.
Hey, for all the parents out there with teens, it's more hectic now than ever.
Cash App's going to help, not hurt.
With the Cash App card, available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of their spending. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
I need one of those with lots of money on it right now for my Christmas gifts. Buck, you mentioned surrounding yourself with the people with experience. Now, Dusty Baker's back in the organization with the Giants. Bruce Bochy's there. They just hired Ron Washington, who I could do a whole show on. One of the best coaches I ever had. Taught me things at the end of my career about playing second base that I had no idea about, that made it so much easier. Can you have too many chefs in the kitchen? Can you have too much where you're new and this guy's telling you one thing, this guy's telling you, like maybe too many hitting coaches? Or is that just a valuable commodity for Tony Vitello to lean on maybe in his first year?
Well, yes, it is. You can have too many. But these guys know, because they've managed how, I'm there if you need me. They're not going to walk in every day and need their ego stroked. These guys know what the job entails, but it can't be like a charm bracelet. I tell people, okay, I got my Latin American guy. Well, wait a minute, who's he actually signing? Wait a minute, I've got a player from Japan. Wait a minute, is he any good? Hey, I've got a consultant guy from a veteran. Was he any good? You can't just have a charm bracelet. They've got to serve a purpose. And I think these guys, Bruce and those guys and Dusty, they know the challenges managers have. And it's basically, I'm here for you if you want to kick something around. But Tony, Tony's going to be fine. I'm pulling for him, and I applaud the unconventionality of it. And I think it opens up. I think the top 20 college coaches are probably making more money than the major league managers nowadays. So, I got my tires kicked about in college, but I wasn't going to go in and kiss some 15-year-old kid's butt and try to recruit him. I can tell you that, and not recruit my own players every year.
So whenever Tony says something at University of Tennessee to a 15, 16-year-old, 18, 19-year-old, whatever it is, it's gospel. He walks on water. And now, as you know, you've done it. You forgot more baseball than I'll ever know. Now you're dealing with grown men with families that are making $30 million a year. Like, what's the challenge between dealing with teenagers and dealing with guys making $40 million a year?
You know what, FP? I have to think about that, but I would think you have to be careful about coaching them, because they would transfer. If you coached them too hard, they might go, wait a minute, I'm going to go to Vanderbilt. You made me mad. Or I'm not getting enough money. I tell you, some of these guys are making more money in college than they might be their first 3 years in the minor leagues. So I think the script a lot has changed in the way we look at it. I look at some of these guys are going to come back for their 5th year in college because they're going to be making more money. But Tony will be fine. I mean, if he gets good players, he's going to be real smart. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Did it go fast for you at first? Was it just, because I know I managed a little bit in A-ball for the Giants, and I'm coaching third base, and I'm thinking about who's got to come in the bullpen and who I got to get up. Meanwhile, I'm waving a guy from third, and I'm too close, and he's got to go around me because I don't know where to stand, and he gets thrown out by 10 feet at home. But this is in front of 300 people in San Jose. So, Is it going to go fast for him, do you think, at first? And because he's saying things right now, Buck, like I'm overwhelmed, and he's saying it publicly. He's super authentic and transparent right now. How do you think it's going to go for him initially?
I think the authenticity will play well too. People are drawn to sincerity and a pure heart, and I think Tony has that. And you're trying to win. We know, we see the scoreboard, see the standings. Nobody's got to weigh in on how we're doing. We got it, but I think he'll understand the challenges. I know when I first started managing in minor leagues, I was able to coach for 1 year, and I got to go to winter ball. I went to instructional league. I managed an instructional league. So when people in the big leagues said, "Wow, I bet you never seen that," I said, "Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw a triple play and the ball never hit leather. I've seen all that stuff." So, but the best part of your day and Tony's day is when the first pitch is thrown. Mattingly used to say, "Hey, when are they going to play that song?" He was talking about the national anthem, because all the other peripheral stuff, you get a little uncomfortable in. But once you get in that element of the game, it's like that first lick that gets passed in football, or the first time you make a trip down the floor in basketball. He'll be in his element and he'll be fine. It's still baseball. You got to go 360 feet to score a run, then try to keep them from scoring one. We make this way too complicated, FP.
Oh my God, tell me about it now. With all the analytics, my brain would be swimming every day with all the information.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because in our advanced meetings, we used to put a clock. And we would start it, and they knew that 12 to 15 minutes, when that clock got down to 0, we were done. Sitting there for half an hour trying to show them how smart you are and how many different things you've done. I was very careful about what was given to our players. Talking about the picture they're facing, talk about some things we need to be ready to do and some things that they may try to do. But if you throw too much at them, and a lot of that stuff you leave in the hitting coach, and who can remember all that stuff? And you do see some guys at the plate that just look confused. The squirrels are running around, and the hamsters are in that cage, and you can see that they ain't doing too good mentally. And you got to know your players, who can handle it and who can't.
Yeah, when you see a guy taking a 1-2 fastball right down the middle, he's overthinking. I see that all the time now. I'm like, oh man, yeah, the analytics said that he throws a slider 82% of the time at a 1-2 count, and you just took a 4-seamer right down the middle, dude. Like that used to be a cardinal sin. I mean, you were on the fastball with 2 strikes. Were you ever with the team, Buck? And you don't have to mention it, or you could, which would be cool. That was way too analytically driven. It's like uncle on all this stuff. Like, we just got to go out there and play American Legion baseball and be athletes.
No, you know what? We were able to, given the freedom, we were able to say, okay, this is something that their ears need to hear, and this is something as a coaching staff we need. And it's not about, okay, now it's everybody's chasing a title. Well, I'm the director of left-handed sliders in the dirt. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's tripping over each other to get another title to get. And it's just, hey, can we win a game? And people tell you I'm extremely open, all that stuff. This is nothing really new. We were doing it back in the early 90s. We just didn't have all the different numbers and all the data that we had piled up through the years. We think this guy's going to hit the ball here. So we played a guy there. But, they all knew. They would say, hey, yeah, Buck would love to hear that, but he's going to ask you one question. How does this help us win a game tonight and down the road? And if you can't answer that question, if it looks like you're just self-promoting, coming up with some shtick so that you can be the new guru, it's not going to play very well, because players don't want that. They want that night, how does this help us be a better player and win a game? That's what they want.
I used to sit in those hitters meetings, and they would say, hey, we're going to get on this guy's high fastball. And I couldn't hit a high fastball. And that was a team game plan. I always thought if I ever got back into coaching, Buck, that it would benefit the players more if I had a menu on their seat, on their locker every day. And they told me what they need on today's game off of this pitcher, because there's 26 guys in the clubhouse, however many position players. And if you have those eyewash hitters meetings where we're, fastball in, slider away, whatever it is, I have to have my own game plan. So if you talk about tendencies from a pitcher, why not have a guy that says, this is what I need. I need velocity. I need percentage of strikes. I need walk to strikeout ratio. I need whatever his go-to pitch is with 2 strikes. But you tailor the menu for each hitter. And with all the analytics today, you just lay the menu on their locker seat when they get there. They open it up, and you tailor the game plan for each hitter. Did you ever have that in any of your stops?
No, I like that. That's kind of what you try to get to. Okay, what do you need? You tell the player, what do you need? Instead of going, hey, here's what I think you need. Take this. Well, wait a minute. It doesn't work. Everybody's different. Thank goodness. Hey, Jeff McNeil was he led the whole globe in hitting one of the years I was there. And he would get down after hitting 3-line drives at somebody and I would just get a golf magazine on the way in and put it in his locker. And it would calm his brain down. Just things like that. He loved it. He walked by and go, hey, thanks for the golf magazine. Yeah, he's one of the best. He's probably the best golfer in the big leagues. But every guy's different. And understanding, and the only way you do that is talk to them. You walk around. Back when we used to have batting practice outside, and you used to walk around. I used to love to throw batting practice. That's how you got away from the media because you could throw. But it's the same game, FP. We try to make way too much of this and that, and I got to tell you, a lot of the stuff comes on the screen. It's incredibly boring to me. I'm watching the other stuff. I'm watching the little things that tell you off ball. I'm a big off ball guy. Everybody stays on the ball. I'm watching the left fielder when the ball's down in right field corner. Is he backing up third? I'm watching the catcher. Remember when catchers used to back up throws to first base?
Yeah.
And it's little things like that. Is the pitcher where he's supposed to be behind the plate with a throw coming in? A lot of guys don't even leave the mound anymore. Like, who's holding their feet to the fire? And when Tony, that's going to be some of Tony's challenge. But guys question things. I guarantee you it's tough. I don't look at things I haven't done. Like, I haven't been a college coach, so I can't critique what he does. But I can tell some of the challenges he may have there. But trying to keep your players happy in college so they won't transfer, and everybody's trying to pick them and pluck them from you, that's what Nick Saban got out. He got tired of recruiting his own players every year.
Yeah, one of my best friends was the head coach at University of Miami for a while, and he just retired because of the NIL. And you can't get mad at a player. He's going to transfer. They don't have the NIL. Like, college sports is a mess right now.
That's another reason why I love Navy. They're going to play in a bowl game. I don't think any of their players are going to enter the portal. And you know what? They were getting paid long before NIL. They get a salary, the Navy players. So they were ahead of everything. And it's just, you're looking for things you can trust. I know here in Baltimore, we just, I told guys, I said, listen, we're out in Seattle. Somebody back in Baltimore staying up to 1 o'clock in the morning to see how you guys are doing. They're going to be late to work or they're going to be tired, but it means something to them. The only thing I want us to be about is our fans should be able to trust effort and focus and whatever, whether we win or lose, but they should turn on the TV and go, you know what, we're going to get this from these guys every day. And you've got to pick the right people that can bring that. Every situation, whether it's New York or Texas or Baltimore, requires a little different mode of operation. And that's why I used to say, what do you need me to bring here? What's been missing? It might be as simple as get better players, but in Baltimore, we had to figure out a way to catch the Yankees and the Red Sox and Toronto all had double payrolls. So what could we do, FP? We could out relationship them. We could out 6-year free agent. We could out minor league them. We could out scout them. We could out there were things that if we were willing to do, we could make up the difference. But we created our own depth, and that's what you can do. There's an excuse around every corner if you're willing to take it.
Man, that's great stuff. That brings me to my next question about, the Giants have a pretty decent budget and they have money, but you talk about the Dodgers now and the endless payroll they have. Can a team like the Giants compete with the Dodgers with all the resources they have?
One of the keys is your best players have to play the game right. When I first got to Baltimore, for instance, I told Adam, and when I went to New York with Lindor and those guys, I said, listen, you guys got to play the game right. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time and I'm going to go home. I used to tell Adam, Adam, you got to go down the line. You got to do this. You can't be just talking about it. You got to show them. And I think that's important that your best players play the game right if you're trying to establish something. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels. I was thinking the other day, someone called me about Edwin Diaz signing with the Dodgers. And actually, it may tip. If the Dodgers are sitting there again as the champion, I think it's going to tip the scales a little bit about the lockout that's looming. I do, because I think a lot of people, whether it be fans, owners, or whatever, are going to look around and go, wait a minute, we can't have this every year, where the team that just has the most money And they make good decisions, but they're 15 or 16 pitchers deep. Heck, they were getting their pitching staff ready a month before the playoffs started. You know, they were getting them all healthy and getting them lined up, and and they've got a good manager that plays a good hand well, and that's hard to do. Joe Torre was great at playing a good hand well, and signing these guys, if the Dodgers win again, in some ways it might be good for baseball because it might be the final straw that says we got to level the playing field somehow. You know, everybody's got to have a shot at the best player coming out of Japan, which, let's face it, they don't.
They don't. So, yeah, there has to be a better balance here. So do you think there's going to be a lockout? What's your opinion on that? We'll wind it up here. We got to let you go. But what do you think?
FP, you were involved. Anybody was in the strike in 94 and the sitting out 95 and all the things that went on, they should talk to them. That was awful. That was a low point of my career. Being in replacement camp, it was just awful. And I still remember like yesterday, we were in Colorado opening up Coors Field with replacement players when we got the word up the runway that the strike had been settled. We were heading back to spring training. We were tearing our uniform off, running up the runway, yelling like little kids. But I would challenge you to talk to people that went through that. It was awful. And with everything that's pulling on people's entertainment dollar nowadays, be careful. Be careful about shutting down the game again. But boy, there's the other part of me that we have got to level the playing field. Every one of these teams have to have the same opportunity going into it. And I'm not talking about. I'm more worried about I would be more concerned about the floor instead of the ceiling. I think if you established a floor, it would help matters some. But what do I know? There's smarter people than me are dealing with it right now. I hope they figure it out because it's not going to be good, FP, because this one could take a while.
But Buck, along those lines, I was a minor leaguer 6 years in the minors, and I was in AAA. And the strike happened, and Kevin Malone was our GM with the Expos, and he got all 250 minor leaguers up at home plate, and he said, "I'm going to make it easy on you guys. You're all going over there to play in the replacement games. If the big leaguers give you problems, you can blame me, and if anybody has a problem with that, you can leave right now." I was the only one out of 250 people that put my bag over my shoulder and walked from field 4 to the clubhouse and said, "I don't want to be any part of this," and I went home. And Felipe Alou, who was the big league manager, just happened to be in minor league camp that day. And he used to call me Frankie. He said, "Frankie, I've always had respect for you, but what you did today, I have so much more respect for you." He goes, "You're going to be a big leaguer this year. I'm going to call you up." And he did. He was a man of his word. August 2nd that year, he called me up, and I spent 7 years in the big leagues. And I think a big reason why is because I didn't want to be any part of that. Me getting a hit off a truck driver wasn't going to show Felipe Alou that I was a major leaguer. And they tried to sell us on that. And Buck, I wanted my first time in the big leagues ever to be a memorable experience where I walked in that clubhouse and I saw all my friends and they were like, "You're a scab." So that was an easy decision for me. But like at that time, a career minor leaguer, like I went home for a month and then they called me back and I went back to AAA. But yeah, to your point, that was the worst time of my career too.
You know, I had a similar thing with Shane Spencer in the World Series hero. He was too good. We were in this camp and it was awful. I mean, truck drivers, outlaws, and Gene Michael and I, the great GM, we were sitting there talking and said, Shane should not be here. He's going to play in the big leagues. He should not be here. Well, we called him in and talked him into leaving. Oh my God, did Mr. Steinbrenner go crazy on us? And we had a couple other players, without naming names, that we got out of camp too, because they were too good at we would have told you, go, you need to go. And I know we played the Dodgers replacement team and they were like their whole AAA team. And we had gone down to, I don't even want to tell you where we got our players from, because Steinbrenner told us it wasn't going to happen. Don't worry about it. And then 2 days before the season was going to start, he was talking about how bad our team was. Wait a minute, you told us not to go get anybody. So we had 3 scouts go down to Mexico and sign 6 players out of the Mexican League. But it was awful. Please do not have a lockout or a strike. You'll regret it. But we do have to get the salary structure right. So how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, I want to see too. Buck, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. You're taking time out of your day. You're one of my all-time favorites. You said earlier, I would have loved to play for you one day. I wish I had. That's one of my biggest regrets. But I'm super thankful that I've got to know you over the years. And
FP, where were you in '94?
I was in AAA Ottawa.
Who would have won the World Series in '94? The Yankees or the Expos?
I'm gonna say, because you're on my show right now, Buck, the Yankees would have killed the Expos.
I don't think. I tell you what. How about that team? Larry Walker. Wow, what a team that was. FP, thanks for having me. God bless you.
All right, Buck. Take care. Happy holidays. Thank you.
You too. Bye bye.
All right, we got to take care of some business right now. We got 2,000 subscribers, so we need 3,000. So go on YouTube, click on it. It's really easy. We're at Splash Hit Territory on Twitter, at Splash Hit Territory on Instagram. You can follow Susan, who's a frequent guest of the show, on Twitter. You can follow me too. You guys have been amazing so far. We're going to do a mailbag the next show. So we need your questions. Go on the YouTube in the comments, ask us some questions, what you think. And we're going to talk to you guys via your questions. So you can go on Susan's Twitter, find us on Twitter, go to YouTube, go on my Twitter, ask us questions. That's going to be our next show this week. What a great guest today, man. That was so much fun. I'm a fanboy of Buck, man. I think he's the best. I still think he should be managing somewhere in the big leagues, but that was really nice of him to come on. All right, we'll catch you guys later this week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. You guys are the best. And like I say on the way out every single time, swing hard in case you hit it.